Most of the European operetta is the grandfather or the father of American musical comedy. And I grew up in a household where my mother was very devoted to Rodgers and Hammerstein and Jerome Kern and George Gershwin and Cole Porter. So these melodies were just part of my upbringing. Well, Danilo, I think, is great fun to play. Danilo is sort of that archetype, what we call in German a Lausbub, a guy that never really grows up. You know, there's a lot of layers to Danilo. You know, he's a count, he's a Graf, he's been born well, which gave him a certain entitlement to get away with things, I suppose, and that's also part of this making fun of the society, as it were, from where this play comes from. And so Danilo is the kind of guy that always takes the easy path around something, except, you know, he does grow up. He actually did fall in love once, and it was with Hannah. And it didn't work out because of family pressure, and he was too cowardly to take it on. So, you know, he's probably carried this a while, and he's a bit of a bon vivant and a playboy. But he's a nice man, you know. You just hope that he will take life seriously. And Hannah, in this particular play, shows him how to take life and love seriously. The challenge for Danilo is finding the equilibrium between the speaking, all of the text, and the acting, as it were, the character, and then having that sung part of his life be as natural as the speaking and the stage part of the life. I think for me the key is to be able to sing in the same place that I speak, or speak in the same place, same resonance that I speak. I tend to do that anyway as a baritone and in my own personal technique, but it would be more difficult if the role were, say, lower or more angry or more dramatic to sing and then have all this text on top of it. So it's a little bit simpler right now because, you know, when I speak to her and when I sing to her, I'm essentially in the same resonance, in the same register. I think the trick is not to speak in your throat like we often do in life and then sing some other way. But I don't really, with singing, I don't believe that. I think that singers generally speak better because we don't want to use our throats. We want to vibrate through our throats, if you were. But operatic roles, especially in my repertoire that are very large dimension, Posa in Don Carlos, or Simon Boccanegra, or Amfortas, or even the last thing I did here, the Chanson Loire-Tous. It was only 3 big scenes in the Loire-Tous, but they were hugely complex and very dense and very full and loud music. That, of course, is not Danilo. It's not even particularly operetta, but the challenge then for operetta in operetta repertoire in general is that the emotional content of both what is being said and the musical elements that are being sung are much closer together than in opera. And so the believability factor is instantaneous when one sings operetta. Opera is a different emotional impact where the musical and linguistic elements are in synchronization with one another, if that makes any sense. It's a completely different form in a lot of ways. It is not, I do not see operetta repertoire in any way as less demanding or less interesting or less of an art form. It's a different art form, and you must want to do it. You must love. I would love to do Fledermaus, you know. In the Fledermaus, I've sung Falke quite often, or I used to. And I'm now just starting in some concerts to sing some of the duets of Eisenstein. And Eisenstein would be the role that I would do now. Eisenstein is more, if you will, operatically oriented than Danilo. It's a longer role and it's harder to sing. It's a very demanding piece, Fledermaus. Fledermaus is a bit more complex in musical structure than the Lehár Lustige Witwe. Mr. Lavelli was very interesting to work with. Until I saw the DVD, I didn't really understand completely the aesthetic that he wanted to establish in the piece, because it's not really a very traditional Merry Widow. And there's some beautiful lighting and pictures and moments that he's structured. which he needs the characters to be in some ways more still and more concentrated in a particular way that he wants them to read, as we say, or them to look in a particular scene. So I had to learn that. But the conversations with him of why Danilo says this or why Anna does this and how we react to each other, this was, you know, he's a master. He's a master stage producer, and he has wonderful insights into human characters, and I think we found each other very easily and agreed of what Danilo or who Danilo is. I think what Mr. Lavelli is generally concerned with is that the piece not be too superficial and too light, and so he was always trying to, you know, make the anger a bit more angry and make the moments that. But how can I say this? The funniest of comedy are things that are played dead serious, right? And so I've taken that as a challenge. It's very easy to just be rather galant in this piece, and I think he took some of that out, which I think is probably good, you know. So it was very interesting. It was a very interesting repartee.